Welcome to Creative Connections, Episode 5. We've switched things up a little bit today because we've done four, right? Yeah, we've done
That's
four of
been
these
four
so far.
already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
4, of course, of these episodes so far with interviews with some incredible entrepreneurs and people who offer so much great advice and helpful tips. But we haven't gotten to know the man himself. And so I have the privilege today of being able to interview the one and only Dino Miele. Dino, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Jimmy. Thank you. It's been a thrilling 4 episodes. I'm looking forward to answering some questions that I know you're dying to ask me.
I am. And this is just basically a conversation, you and me chatting, because the questions are just designed to pick your brain a bit and maybe give some helpful advice to people while getting to know you a little bit better for anybody who's watching this and doesn't know you.
Well, thank you. I look forward to this little interview with you.
Let's jump right into it.
I'm in.
So before we started this, we were talking about the title and going forward into 2023. We just had an interview with Anna Ontera.
Yes.
And we were talking about New Year's resolutions and whatnot. And now, as the first video we're shooting in 2023, we'd come up with the title Choosing Me in 2023. What is the me in 2023 referring to you? What do you mean by choosing the me in 2023?
Well, I've always been a give first kind of person. So in 2022, I was trying to instill in young entrepreneurs and senior entrepreneurs, the 40 and under, the 41 and over, that they should always understand who they are and what they need to do. I went through a chaotic time. 2019, 2020, 2021, COVID, issues with some of my former partners and employers. And I gave and gave for those 3 years to make sure that I was still continuing to do what I like to do best, and that is support entrepreneurs, a species that I invigorate me to help. This year, I wanted to reflect back and say, well, who's Dino? What's come out of the last 3 years? And how can I start choosing me without sounding self-centered?
You're still talking about helping. Like you've always been helping others. So
absolutely. What happened is I happened to be watching some movies, and I remember some things in one of the airplanes. Something was happening in the movie, and the oxygen mask comes down, and they start saying, "Well, first put the oxygen mask on your face before you go to your children or to your spouse or whatever." And I thought, I've been flying high for the last 3 years in the sense that I'm at an altitude where the oxygen was thin with the stress level and things that were happening all over the world. We're now in a war in Ukraine. And I thought, how do I start choosing me so I can give more again and start a fresh Dino and support entrepreneurs who, as I said, it's a species I really adore helping.
I love that you call it a species because it's quite true in a lot of cases. Yeah. So even when you're choosing me, you're still doing it so you can ultimately have a focus on other people. I've always admired that about you, so I just wanted to say that real quick.
Absolutely. I believe that working with and through individuals or groups is of value, and I always hope that when I need help, people do that for me, that they would work with and through me to either solve a challenge or when it's something that's difficult, something that you're going through, that there's someone there that you can work with. I finished the year with a bang, right? I've helped everyone I could, and now I'm going to choose me to continue to help people so that I have the strength to help the entrepreneurs and stay healthy on my side. Because as I'd mentioned, especially last year, I was tested. Not only did I have business issues, not only did I have health issues, but I also started to make tough decisions that affected my mental health. And as a child who was born in an Italian in Italy in an Italian home, you don't show those kind of things. And I don't mind saying it now. I've learned that you can actually say, I'm having issues. I'm having something that's challenging.
You can ask for help.
I did. It's the first time that I actually reached out. And that's what helped me in November and December. And there was friends. And I can't name them all, but I can say, Jim, you were one of them. And Joseph, who we'll just leave him as Joseph. I think both of you, both with two J's, helped me make it through.
Proud to help. Now, we've talked now briefly about growing up in an Italian household and your strength, but I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer any way you like. Who is Dino Miele?
Dino Miele is someone who wants to always reach out and help and do the best he can in any situation, whether it's a family situation, a friendship situation, whether it's business related. I like to do my best and help and be there with the experience that I have, whether it's been in a technology issue, whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a challenge for an entrepreneur or even competition. You know, if there's someone who's competing and trying to do things against what we're trying to build here in our entrepreneurial center, I want to reach out because eventually I'm going to need a hand and be pulled up out of that awful sinking, well of water that could, pull you down.
Okay, and what kind of strengths have you got versus what kind of weaknesses? Let's get to know you a little bit better.
My strengths are that I'm resilient and I can take on quite a bit. Having been an immigrant child on a leaky boat that came to Canada at Pier 21, and I learned from my parents that resiliency is really important. There are 3 Ds in the family that we always said, and I got to see if I can make them in English, and it was disheartened, yes, despair, yes, but defeated, never. I would never accept defeat at anything because all of us have an inner strength. All of us have spiritual and mental capabilities. And I believe that that's the resilient strength that I have is that I can move forward knowing that every day I can renew myself. Every day is a fresh start.
I love that. What's the best job that you've ever had?
I think it's a competition between 2 jobs when I was younger. It has nothing to do with my career, my education. I loved going to the farm in the mornings and picking strawberries, picking cherries, picking peaches when it was the different seasons in the Niagara region. I loved that, working in the farms.
Why?
You were with nature, but you were also with humble people. You were with people that didn't mind that they were only getting pennies per quart from strawberries, but they knew they were doing something good. Those strawberries had to get to market, had to get to the jam company, right? The other one I would say that's balancing is working at Loblaws. I was a stock boy for 3.5 years, paid my way through college with it, and again, it was serving, making sure the shelves were stocked, making sure the customer had client-focused service to get to the right aisle. I really enjoyed that.
It's interesting to hear that because we're talking about all the great things that I know that you've done since then, in recent years is, CIO, CEO, all these great, epic positions, these C-level positions. And you're talking about Loblaws and picking strawberries as being your favorite jobs. Now, what kind of I know there's obvious vast differences between the 2 types of careers, but why the simplicity of that versus the things you get to do now?
I think it's because if you have that simplicity, that gentleness, you can learn to forgive. You can learn to accept things. You can learn to guide individuals or group of individuals. And you can stay humble at a C-level position. I mean, CIO is Chief Information Officer, but I can also call it careers over. Being in an IT department, it's brutal. You have to be a quick change artist. 1 minute you're helping someone with software. Another minute you're helping someone with accounting. You have to understand the accounting system. Another, you're helping build a business plan online, and you've got to understand Word and Office and then the back end. So you have to be a quick change artist. And that's where the resiliency comes in. That's where the opportunity that you're helping no different than you're creating customer service inside of a grocery store, or you know that that basket is going to become something. Juice. My grandparents taught me this, and my dad. The wheat, the bushel in Italy, when we were doing that as kids, helping the farm, it becomes bread. Mm. It sustains somebody. And that's what I do with entrepreneurs. I want to sustain them through their journey, to move them forward, to get to where they want to get to with the company that they're building.
So you were talking about not just simplicity of the job, but actual roots that are bringing you, pun intended, roots that are bringing you to being a better CEO than you would have been.
Absolutely. It gave me a humanity. And it's not about the position. Never about the position, not the power. It's how can you move the mission, vision of the company that you're the C-level position with, knowing that it's the individuals or the team that you're building or working with that allows you to move it forward and let it grow.
So from everything you got from these great first careers of Dino Miele jobs, what traits would you say helped you succeed the most?
I think, first of all, is communicating. So communication is very important. Making sure that you don't keep things in, that you ask the questions. Why do you feel this way? Or why is this happening? How are you doing this? And those are very important traits, is communication. The second one is listening with empathy. Try to understand that individual. And I believe that the more you can absorb and listen, the more you can say, okay, can I relate to that? Can I look at the humanity of it, even though I'm not supposed to when you're a scientific thinker as a C-level position, right? I've always balanced it with that, in that communication, listening skills, asking why, how, what, and seeing where I can fit in to help.
What's the best advice that you ever received?
For me, it was, Dino, wherever you're going to be, whatever you're going to do, remember to be incredibly resilient. Life is going to throw storms at you. It's going to throw happiness at you. So never get too high or too low. Just be resilient.
Resilience is a word that you've brought up a lot. Resilience. You say it a lot.
I apologize, but
no, please. I think that it's a word that I would definitely associate with you, and that's a key part of your personality.
Well, I like simplicity and happiness. I like to dispense smiles. I want to make sure I can make people smile. It makes me happy to see someone smile, even though they're having a difficult time. They may think, "What the heck is this guy doing?" I'm down and out, and I'll be silly. I'll go into a euphoric happiness to make them smile.
And we appreciate it.
Because less muscles to smile. I'm proud.
That's true. Muscles. I love that. What's the biggest success that you're willing to speak about, at least, but just from the sake of what you're able to talk about? What is the biggest success that you've achieved, and what did you learn from it?
Family. Family is number one. Having 6 children in our family, 4 girls and 2 boys, an amazing partner who is my wife that has been part of the journey. We don't run each other's life. We share the space. And having our children be able to get an education, stand on their own 2 feet, and have a job, and to contribute to the growth of Canada, I think it's a success for me. That's why, for me, helping entrepreneurs is the same thing. I look at them, as I said, I don't want to use the word species or children, but I look at them as growing opportunities that's going to create a GDP, create jobs, going to create opportunities for the Canadian citizen to get services in the different areas that the company's growing.
Your greatest failure that you're willing to talk about, and what you learned from that?
Grief.
In what way?
When I fail. When I see things fail, I tend to hang on to the grief. When I know that Out of 219 companies that I've helped to date, I know many failed. And I've told them, and I give them a heads up. We're not all going to make it. So be prepared. And I always make sure that I do my best. And when I say grief, it's grief that what I should have what I should have done is given them a backup option. And that took me a while. It took me about 90 some odd companies before I would say, okay, listen, this is where you want to be. This is where you want to grow. This is where you are hoping to get to. But by the way, on this side, we're going to do a backup plan. So maybe you need to take a course, a part-time course at a university or college, or maybe you need to go back and do your grade 12. Maybe you need to get something that gives you a backup. And that's where the grief came, is that the first 90 or so, I thought, we're just going to scale these folks. We're going to, I'm going to do no different than Bill Gates was able to do, or, Michael Dell with the Dell computers. We're going to get these guys to the $1 billion mark, right? Just blue sky. And I realized it's not. It's not. And so I carried grief for a while.
But you were also learning and growing from every single failure that you've gone through.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's despite everything I've gone through, everything I've seen, I've kept a positive attitude because at the end of the day, there's less years ahead of me than behind me, and I want to be able to still give as long as I can with a positive attitude.
No, and that's fantastic. Positive attitudes are going to bring you a lot further than people tend to give it credit for. But when it comes to the difference between the companies that succeed, the companies that ultimately fail, what do you find is the biggest challenge that the entrepreneurs are facing trying to run these companies towards success?
There's several, but the two that come to mind, first of all, is that they get they fall in love so much with their product or their solution that they lose track that it's a business. And a business needs fuel, and that is revenue. It's dollars. And so they get so enamored and they say, this is going to solve all your problems when it comes to healthcare. This is going to solve all of your problems in the financial sector. This is going to solve all your problems because it's the only solution in the world. But the world may say, what do I need that for? Maybe it's bad timing, right? The Frisbee came at the right time, lucky, right? But you never know what the world will accept. So I think to go back to it, it's timing is very important. The other thing is they run out of money. They run out of money too fast, too fast. And so they burn away because they're looking at the product and not thinking of it as a business. And I think the third thing is teamwork. When competition enters a team, companies fail.
And what kind of advice would you give to entrepreneurs that are struggling in today's economy to get their businesses again to that success landmark?
I think I always say to them, stay the course. You're going to get headwinds, but think of your customer. What is the problem you're trying to solve? What are you trying to give to the world, communities, whatever? And stay the course and always continue to find partnerships. Do not be afraid to search or reach out to all of the support. I mean, Canada has given the most support that I've ever seen to startups when you look at grants and you look at the opportunities for connecting to regional innovation centers, connecting to universities, research and development. There's lots there. And that's where we come in. Like someone like myself is networked well, can direct them in the right, the right places, people in the right places, right? And helping them. But that's important. It's important that they know what's out there, and you have to let them know.
So, with all this great advice for entrepreneurs and all these great things you've done in your life, and the amazing way that you remember your roots so well, if there's only one thing that you, Dino Miele, are going to be remembered for long into the future, what would you like that one thing to be?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
That I help. I want to help. I choose you and I choose me. And when I choose that, I make a connection between the two of us, and I want to help and give. And I'm not trying to sound like a Mother Teresa, please.
No.
I do like to help.
I know that to be true. When I think of you when you're not around, I tend to think of a smile on my face. In front of me right now, I've got this mug, and I have accidentally brought this mug into meetings with city council members, with new entrepreneurs, new clients, and I always forget that I'm drinking. I always drink out of the same mug. My mug, just to tell viewers at home really quick, is this okay to tell this story?
Yeah, go ahead. I think it's awesome.
My mug broke. I used it every day for like 4 years that I've been at Spark Innovation, and I said, I need to get a new mug. So I was online looking up fun mugs that change colors when it heats up, whatever. And Dino came to my office. He goes, "What are you doing, Jim?" And I said, I'm looking for a new mug. And he goes, "Well, don't buy one. I've got a whole bunch of mugs, but I'm going to bring you one tomorrow." And he said, "If I bring you a mug, you have to use it." And I said, "Done." And he said, "No matter what." And I said, "No matter what." And the next morning on my desk is this mug that says, "Coffee makes me poop." And like I said, I've had to cover it sometimes when I'm on a Zoom meeting or something, and kind of lift it up and make it so they don't, no one can see what it actually says. But I've been true to my word. It's the coffee cup that I use. But do you have like a huge collection at home, or?
Yeah, I tend to collect mugs like that with different sayings. But for you, I thought it was great. As I told you, I like to see people smile, right? So I either want them to smile when they see you drink out of that cup, or you remember what it means and what I've told you about it, right? No matter how exhausted you were, I know you'll move mountains just with that cup.
So far, so good. So when it comes to your past and the people who have influenced you, you've done a lot to influence me. My company, and I've made no secret of this, but my company wouldn't be where it is right now at all if not for you. I would have went and found another 9 to 5, whatever it took to make money and move forward. And you have not only given me good influence with advice, but you've guided me in the right directions. You've given me actual opportunities with clients. You've been a client, including in doing these interviews with my incredible team, and I can't give enough appreciation for that. But who influenced you? Who do I have to thank for making you the person you are to help me the way you've helped me? Who influenced you?
Wow.
And we're talking anybody, maybe you didn't meet them, maybe you read their book, you saw them on TV, maybe you're a family member, anybody. I just want to know where you got.
There are two people.
Please.
There are two. I love to read books. I love to listen to music. As I started off, I'm going to be upfront. I started off as a 3-year college graduate in information technology and engineering. Then I went back and took my sociology degree, and then I went back and got my master's of ed. And all of those things that I learned and looked at and did the research, the two people that influenced me the most was my mother and my wife. I don't know how to say that to people. And it's not that because they're the female gender that I love, dearly. My father was great, but my mother was always there for me, and my wife is always there for me. And they become a strong pedestal for me to stand on when the storms come in and the good times come in.
Having people like that in your life is important, because so often we find that personal life and professional life, they're not as separate as people want them to be. You want to be able to take off that professional hat, put on that personal hat. But we find the influence so much from our loved ones, especially our partners, our direct family, our immediate family, rather. It's so important to who we become. And in failing to have those people, just the people you choose to have as your family, like it's direction, motivation, even just logic, knowledge, things that you can learn, experiences that you can kind of absorb through stories from people. I know so many people in my life have been incredible influences, especially you, and it's just it's such an amazing thing to be able to call you my friend and my mentor in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate that, and I hope that comes across. And so, if there's anything else that you can you can think of to say to an entrepreneur like myself, like anybody else who's been through your door or stood in front of you and said, Dino, what should I do? Is there any other extra pieces of advice that you can tell them, any pieces of influence, any way you can direct them?
Again, I always said you want to stay the course. If you believe in the product, if you believe in the startup that you're building or the services, and what you want to be is, you don't want to be a fake person. Do not be fake. Do not go for ego. Don't go for anger. Try and, I don't know, what did Bruce Lee say? Be like water, fluid, right? Water flows.
Mm-hmm.
Have a flow. Because you're going to get headwinds, you're going to get people who are jealous, you're going to get people who are going to promise you the world. You're going to be riding high some months and some months low. But I think you want to be humble, you don't want to be fake, and you want to stay the course in the convictions of what you're doing.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say to anybody listening, anybody watching right now, any last pieces of wisdom? This has been absolutely wonderful to be able to have the honor to be the one to interview you for your channel. But any last words for people?
I think the journey that we have in life is short. It seems long. So try to enjoy it. You're going to have good times. You're going to have bad times. You're going to have indifferent times. And I know I've said this to you before, Jim, and you're going to kill me. But, I say, you're born with nothing. You come into the world with nothing. You're going to leave with nothing. Whatever's in between, good, bad, or indifferent, you always have something. So try to find the positive piece of it as you try to solve the problem, or you're in a euphoric win because you won a trophy, or you've got a great award. Just live life by not leaving a path of destruction behind you.
That's very true, because it is true. You come in with nothing and you leave with nothing. And one reply I always have to that statement that you make is that you might not take anything with you, but you do leave stuff behind. And for yourself, you're leaving a lasting legacy of helping people, making people grow and understand what they need to do to be better versions of themselves, or to succeed, or reach for something. And whether they make it or not, it is that journey, that experience they get, and you have a lot to do with a great many people's journey. And on behalf of them, I'd like to thank you for it.
Well, thank you, Jim. In that journey, I'd like to close off with something cool. As I've read books, and I think you and I have talked about this as forged in crisis. Even though we're doing creative connections, we're all forged in crisis.
That's true.
And one of them was in that book was the expedition of Shackleton into the North Pole. And I believe it was the North Pole or the Antarctic. I have to go back to the book. I apologize. But think about that he was forged in crisis. And to me, it was men of steel on wooden ships. That's what you got to think about.
That's deep. That's amazing. Dino, thank you so much, my friend, for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
I do this.
That's all right. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
And thank you, everyone, for watching this wonderful interview with the one and only Dino Miele.
Stay tuned to more Creative Connections with Jimmy, Joseph, and Mac.
See ya.